Good evening. Welcome to the March 4th, 2025 City of Minot Planning Commission meeting. Call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Johnson, Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menham,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanila,
Yes.
Trudell, Wolf, Amick,
Yes.
Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
We have a quorum.
All right, with that, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 3. At this time, I'd like to welcome our newest commissioner. I believe it's Casey Erickson has joined us. So welcome to the group. Thank you. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out. Okay, we're moving on with that. We'll go to agenda item number 4. Approval of the February 2025 meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, so I got a motion to approve by Commissioner Bauman and a second by Longton. Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the discussion and we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menham,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanila,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item number 5.1, St. Croix Edition, zone change, public hearing request by Dylan Davis, owner for a request of a zoning map amendment on a property zone C2, General Commercial District, with the requested rezoning to CBD, Central Business District. The legal description for the property is Lot 2, St. Croix Edition, to the City of Minot, Ward County. Property address is 501 East Central Avenue. That will turn it over to city staff for findings and report.
Tonight, this application will be presented by our Associate Planner, Dan Falconer.
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. The subject property for this case is bound in black with the notification boundary in pink, which is at 300 feet. This area is on the east side of downtown, right on the edge of it. It is the Atypical Brewery. On this plot, you'll see that there are multiple buildings of which are kind of the subject of this rezone. They're looking to do some adaptive reuse of existing structures along with some building of new ones, and they are seeking to rezone their property, which is currently C2, to CBD. Like I said, their property is zoned C2. The surrounding properties are zoned industrial, residential, higher density residential, and CBD. In this part of the downtown, on the east side of the railroad, is kind of a remnant industrial fragment left over, and the area is starting to be primed to turn into CBD. So as we see more of these businesses expand, we expect to see more of these kind of applications. This is our future land use map that kind of underscores that point. The purple is our downtown fringe district, which can house commercial or central business district. In this case, we feel central business district is the better choice as its proximity to other central business district parcels. Above it, we see some riverfront activation, which hasn't been necessarily realized yet, but it's in the process as flood control gets built. And then in the southeast, you see the residential neighborhood surrounded by the dead loop. Here are some site photos looking east down Central towards that pedestrian walkway. Facing south from Central, looking at the front of the business. Facing west, looking into downtown. And then facing north to the property across the street, which coincidentally is also zoned Central Business District. Here are the staff's findings of fact. They can be found in the staff's written report. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the staff finding of fact and recommend approval to the City Council for a zoning map amendment from a C2 general commercial to a central business district, CBD, with no conditions. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Mr. Chair, city staff, I'm just sort of curious, the owner's bringing this request to change the zoning, is the intention, his or her specific intention to build this area?
Well, right now, it's a multi-building kind of parcel with, I believe, 4 buildings on it currently, and he's looking to do some adaptive reuse of the existing buildings and kind of expand the brewery into a more of a reception area, or actually I have his letter of intent right here. We are planning on demolishing a building and building a new structure to house bathrooms and brewery storage. The tenant of Unit D will vacate and the structure will be used as flex space for the brewery. This would include space for live music, trivia, yoga, private events, etc. And they are proposing to rezone the property to be central business district. So they're looking to take these buildings right now, which are mostly used for storage as far as I know, and then turn them into auxiliary uses and businesses to kind of create a commercial mixed use area.
Yeah, and that requires a zoning change. Why?
Right now, as general commercial, which is a much more auto-oriented zone, we would require landscaping, parking lots, things of that nature, whereas we feel that would ruin the atmosphere they're trying to create, and especially in a downtown setting, to have to do that would kind of derail the entire project and kind of undermine the purpose of what we're trying to do with downtown.
Thank you.
Any other questions for city staff? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant available to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Come on up, sir. And state your name there, and I think there's a sign-in sheet for you right there.
Dylan Davis. We're just trying to fix the property up a little bit, and just need it to be rezoned to conform. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, just curious, so you're going to demolish the old 40s gas station structure or add to it?
No, absolutely not. This is one of the auxiliary buildings in the back that is just unsavable. If I could save it, I would. It's not able to be rebuilt as it sits. The gas station out front, that will stay.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Davis? No, we can call you back up if we got, appreciate it, thank you.
No problem.
Continuing with the public hearing, is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition of this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
Move to approve based on staff recommendation and finding of fact.
Second.
Okay, so we got a motion to approve by Vice Chair Bauman and a second by Kibler. Any discussion?
I'd just like to go ahead and publicly say thanks for coming forward with the CBD. I think in terms of moving this neighborhood that's zoned for future use as fringe downtown, this is a really good applicant and candidate to kind of start that transition for the community. We appreciate the effort and the time that you've put into that property to build into a mainstay of the community, and this seems like a great way to kind of help your property move forward and help downtown expand to that area. So thanks. Appreciate the work and the effort.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, call to roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menham,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.2, public hearing request by Rustin at Houston Engineering, representing Jace Properties and Amanda Schatz, owner for a request of a zoning map amendment on property zone C2, General Commercial District, with requested rezoning to M1 Light Industrial District. Legal description for the property is Lot 2 Dawn to Dusk addition to the city of Minot. The property address is currently unassigned. With that, we'll turn it over to city staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission. As usual, you can see the subject property bound in black and our 600-foot notification boundary in pink. It's in the ETJ, so it gets 600 feet of notification. The subject property is located east of Minot and a little north of Highway 2. They are requesting a zoning change from C2 to M1 with no project proposed at this time. So right now, they're just asking to rezone the property. It would remain, as far as we've been told, a vacant industrial property. Current zoning is C2, general commercial. Any future land development would have to conform to the existing underlying zoning of M1 if this zoning map amendment were approved. The subject property is designated as a light industrial on our 2040 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. It is adjacent to some rural residential, some suburban residential, some gateway commercial, and other light industrial properties. It is primarily bound by other light industrial. It's the light industrial area that you recommended that we change from gateway to commercial to light industrial a few months back. Here are some site photos facing northwest and facing south. Facing west, that is the property itself. It's just empty field at this time. However, it does have a nice tree row for future screening of any industrial use. And facing north, you can see the Minot Water Tower, and behind that is the Ward County Highway Building. Here's staff finding of fact. It can be found in staff's written report. Planning Commission has the authority to hear this case and make a recommendation to City Council on whether or not the zoning map amendment should be approved, denied, or approved with conditions. Staff recommends the Planning Commission adopt staff finding of fact, recommend approval to the City Council for a zoning map amendment from C2 General Commercial District to M1 Light Industrial District with no conditions. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichsen, how large is this area?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, I'm not sure that I remember the acreage exactly.
Thereabouts. I'm not going to go out and measure or anything.
If I had to guess, probably 10, 15, maybe a little more. It's a significant industrial site, a vacant industrial site if this zone changes.
And the building you had on there earlier, that's just an imagined building of showing-
that building that was shown in the site photos is on an adjacent property. It's not on the property itself.
Thank you.
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, it is 15.06 acres.
Thank you. Any additional questions for city staff? Okay, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. And I don't know if the applicant is available to speak on this. If not, is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak in favor or in opposition of this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. We'll turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
He said move to approve based on staff finding of fact.
I would second.
Okay, so I got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kibler and a second by Amick, Commissioner Amick. Okay, any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menham,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Amick, Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.3, public hearing request by Conley Post, owner for a request of a zoning map amendment on property zone C2 General Commercial with the requested rezoning to M1 Light Industrial District. Legal description for the property is Lot B of Outlot 23, Section 32, Township 155 North, Range 82 West, Ward County. Property address is 3050 Highway 52 South. That will turn it over to staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission. We have another ETJ property bound in black and with a 600-foot notification boundary denoted in pink. The property is located southeast of Minot off of Highway 52, and they are looking to change the zoning from C2 to M1 to facilitate the construction of an office and lay-down yard for a construction company. The current zoning of the property is C2. Any future development would have to conform to the underlying zoning of M1 if the zoning map amendment were approved. Future land use designation for the property is light industrial, and it is adjacent to other light industrial, some ag and open space across the highway, and rural residential to the rear. It's important to note that that residential in the rear is developed residential, and they would be required to create all of the buffer yards and fences and tree rows that are required to buffer between this industrial property and any existing residential zoning and or use. Some of that property that's zoned industrial is developed as in residential currently. They would have to buffer against that residential use, even if it is zoned industrial, because the protections for buffer yards in our LDO list specifically zoning or use. So it would still be considered a less intensive use if you have housing on industrial zone or industrial designated properties. Here is facing southeast and facing northwest. You're looking along Highway 52 in front of the building there. Facing north and facing west, this is the proposed building site. And as you can see, construction is underway. That is not a zoning violation. You can build a building on a C2 property or an M1 property. So they have begun construction, and it would be allowed. It's just they won't require any further permitting with the zoning map amendment. And it is complying with our comprehensive plan. Here's staff findings of fact. They can be found in staff's written report. Planning Commission has the authority to hear this case and provide a recommendation to City Council whether the zoning map amendment should be approved with conditions, or denied. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt staff finding of fact and recommend approval to the City Council for a zoning map amendment from C2 General Commercial District to M1 Light Industrial District with no conditions. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, did you use the term lay-down yard?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibble, yes, it's just a term for a place where you would stack and store machinery, building materials, things of that nature. It's not permanent storage. We got a job to build a garage next week, so we got all the supplies in. We got them trucked into our yard. We lay them down. We're going to pick them up next week, bring them out to the site. It's kind of a temporary storage for construction term.
Is that a formal term? Lay-down yard? Just out
I
of
have seen it.
curiosity.
I know that it's used in the Ward County zoning ordinance. I don't believe that it is used in the city zoning ordinance. We would just consider it outdoor storage.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and get it into my vocabulary. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further questions for city staff? Okay, with none, we'll open the public hearing. Again, I'll wish to bring the applicant up if they're available to speak on behalf. Or if any,
Good evening. I'm Sean Weeks with Ackerman Esfold, representing the applicant post-construction. And we concur with the staff summary. If you've got questions, I'm happy to try to field them. And Commissioner Kibler, if you prefer staging yard to lay down, you can go with that.
Oh, yes, staging yard. Thank you. Really, options.
Perfect. Any questions? Okay, we'll call you back up if we got it. Thank you. Anybody in attendance who wishes to speak in favor or in opposition of this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Turn over to commissioners for a motion.
I will move to approve based on staff finding of fact with no conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, so we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Iverson and a second by Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson, Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson. Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item 5.4, public hearing request by Trent Johnson with Simplot, representing UHB LLC, owner for a request of a conditional use permit on a property zoned M1 light industrial to store hazardous materials and compounds. Legal description for the property is Lot 1 of Northeast Business Park 2, Second Addition to the City of Minot. Property address is 2708 30th Avenue Northeast. That will turn it over to staff for findings and report.
Chairman Offerdahl, members of the commission. The subject property is again bound in black with a 600-foot buffer denoted in pink. The conditional use permit revolves around hazardous materials storage. The letter of intent can be found in the applicant's application packet. But primarily what we're talking about here is Simplot, so it's agricultural chemicals. And the number one reason that we want to do conditional use permits for storage like this is so that our fire department and emergency services are aware of what chemicals and compounds are being stored inside of that building for the safety of the public and for their safety, if there were any reason for them to need to respond to this property. Current zoning is M1, light industrial. It's surrounded by ag, M1, M2, public, and rural residential properties. The future land use is heavy industry, and there is ag and open space and light industrial adjacent. So this is facing south and southwest. These are the existing buildings on the property. So it's important to note that this is Simplot moving into an existing building. Most of the requirements for them to move into this building will revolve around building and fire code and making sure that the building can safely store agricultural chemicals that may be hazardous, flammable, corrosive, poisonous, all of those. Facing west and facing north, you can see there is another agricultural chemical storage facility just north of this property. So staff feels this is a good spot for this, starting to get that that industrial park area that the chamber's been trying to get up and running. So we've got some tenants coming into the area. Hopefully that can spur further development. Here is staff findings of fact. They can be found in the staff's written report. The Planning Commission has the authority to hear this case, approve, deny, or approve with conditions. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt staff finding of fact and approve the conditional use permit for hazardous materials storage with the following recommended conditions. The hazardous materials storage areas shall strictly comply with the quantities, materials, and locations as presented in the letter of intent, Exhibit 3 attached to the application, and attached hereto as part of the permit. All outdoor storage areas shall be fully screened to a minimum height of 6 feet or to a height of the storage racking, up to a maximum height of 10 feet at the time of installation. Any future expansion of the scope of this project beyond existing buildings, including construction of additional storage capacity for bulk hazardous materials, will require an amendment to this conditional use permit. Hazardous materials are limited to those reviewed and approved by the fire chief or their designee. Driveway placement and separation is subject to approval by the city engineer or their designee and will be evaluated at the time of a site plan review of any expansion of the site. A water management plan is required for future development. Final site plan is required for review of future development. Sewer and water connection fees are required for development. With that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for city staff? Vice Chair Bauman, go ahead.
This is just an editing thing. On our screen, we see recommended IUP conditions for interim use permit. Should that be CUP?
Yes, it should
Okay.
be.
Do we need to formally make that edit just so we're approving officially when we get to that point?
I can edit it in the conditional use permit that I bring for Chairman Offerdahl to sign if that
Okay.
is fine with the commission.
Cool. Just want to make sure that's fine.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Diedrichsen, just out of curiosity, the fire department will approve all of the chemicals that go into this place. How often do they review those chemicals, or how often is there oversight, I assume, by the fire department of the kinds of chemicals are there and what they need, what the flash points are, all of that?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, that falls under the authority of our fire inspector. And so that the staff, that's the designee of the fire chief to handle this situation. The company is required to keep them informed of all chemicals stored within that property. And if the fire inspector would be to find them out of compliance with that condition, they would be subject to sanctions up to and including revocation of this conditional use permit. It is a condition of this permit. So,
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Questions for city staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody in attendance that wishes to speak in favor of this agenda item? Anybody wish to speak in opposition?
Chairman Offerdahl, I have a letter from one of the adjacent property owners, if I could read it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Right, thank you. This is from Joseph and Pamela Romance. They own two parcels adjacent to this one. Dear members of the Planning Commission, we are writing to express our concerns regarding the recent request submitted by Trent Johnson with Simplot and UHB LLC property owner for a conditional use permit to store hazardous materials and compounds. The subject property address, 2708 30th Avenue Northeast, proposed, is situated near critical watersheds and residential areas. This matter raises significant environmental and safety considerations that warrant a thorough evaluation. The site proposed has uninhibited drainage flow from the site directly into Livingston Creek. Livingston Creek flows directly past existing homes into the Souris River. Any potential contamination from the proposed site would severely impact the water table and the local environmentally sensitive area. The area in question is also characterized by a lack of paved access road and a very dangerous highway turnoff. As neighboring landowners, we are concerned about more heavy truck traffic, which will exacerbate safety hazards such as dust mitigation for the homeowners to the west and south, our land, and the visibility for the highway turnoff. Already, the turnoff to the site is hazardously inhibited by the limited visibility of the land features. I urge the planning board to carefully consider these issues before making a decision. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. Sincerely, Joseph and Pamela Romance. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing still open. Anybody wish to speak in favor or against this agenda item? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to commissioners for a motion.
I guess for purposes of discussion, I'd move to approve based on staff finding of fact.
And I would go ahead and second that so that we can ask some questions and kind of go from there.
Okay, so we got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kibler and a second by Vice Chair Bauman. With that, any discussion?
Wonder if we can have our planner maybe address some of the comments that were brought up by the letter that was submitted in terms of environmental impact if something were to happen. How do we protect those people?
Chairman Offerdahl, Vice Chair Bauman. We did reach out to the engineering department. They cannot be here today. They are down in Bismarck for a big state engineers get together. I'm not exactly sure what they call their conference, but that's where they are. They did submit in writing to us, and well, we received comments from our city engineer on the environmental factors, and that being the EPA has jurisdiction over this. If they were to find that there were any leaks or issues, that would fall under the federal code of regulations, and they would be subject to federal law in that case. There's not really anything that we have to take jurisdiction of that. As far as the traffic hazard, we reached out to Ward County because they have jurisdiction over both County Road 19 and the Township Road adjacent. And if you'd like, I will read into the record a email that we received from Dana Larson, Ward County engineer. He wrote, Lance, I am not aware of any major accidents on the intersection. I looked on the line online at the NDDOT crash dashboard, and it looks like there have only been 3 reported accidents near 750 feet in parentheses the intersection since 2015. One was with a deer in 2016. The second was a rollover due to ice conditions in 2022. And the third was the only one within 100 feet of the intersection, and it was a side swipe on 30th between 2 vehicles meeting on 30th, which happened in 2015. He provided the crash data map in the email. Below is the stopping site distance at 650 feet from the intersection and 750 feet. There is sufficient stopping site distance, but at 850 feet from the intersection, you are further down the hill leading to Livingston Coulee, and you cannot see the intersection. 650 feet from the intersection, in parentheses, 65 mile per hour stopping site distance at 645. 750 feet from the intersection, 70 mile per hour stopping site distance, 730. That meaning that from the distances which you can no longer see the intersection, you are within the engineer's guidance on site distance for stopping at an intersection. So if someone doesn't see you coming and they pull out onto County Road 19, if you're traveling at the speed limit, you should have enough distance to stop before you hit them, according to the engineering's guidebook, is essentially what the county engineer was getting at there. They would say that there is sufficient sight distance for stopping at the intersection. That was that was provided by the Ward County engineer when he was presented with the letter and the concerns in the letter.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, so you're having read that letter, puts it into the record, or do you need to like physically put that letter into some folder, into some record? I don't know.
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, it's been read into the record, so it becomes part of the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yep, Vice Chair.
I thinking out loud, just in case there's folks who are watching and kind of thinking through, I'm going to share my thought process. I can share the concerns that was submitted in the letter from the property owners adjacent. It sounds like the traffic side of things has been addressed, and it definitely meets code at both 65 and 75, or 60 and 70 miles an hour. safe stopping distances. And then I see in our conditional use permit that any expansion, so future buildings, any expansion to the scope of the project beyond what's already there is going to have to go through review of planning and most likely the fire department. And there's going to be a pretty rigorous review and conversation that's going to be happening if this site were to suddenly expand and triple in size in terms of the storage purposes. So there are a few checks and balances kind of in the way to make sure that it doesn't become a rampant chemical storage site without oversight. There really will be a lot that will be involved if there were to be an expansion. Is my understanding correct?
Chairman Offerdahl, Vice Chairman Bauman. Yes, that is, you can see in the conditions, a stormwater plan, a full stormwater plan would be required. Right now, they have to comply with the current stormwater plan for the existing site. Any expansion would need a new stormwater plan. They'd have to go through a full site plan review for both planning, engineering. Any change in scope as in the conditions, if you pass these conditions, would require fire department approval. Again, they'd have to supply the fire chief or her designee with a complete list of all chemicals, which buildings they're in. That's primarily for their safety if they were to respond to a fire. Not all of these chemicals you can protect yourself with their standard fire fighting gear. So sometimes they need special gear to go into these buildings. So that's primarily for their safety and the safety of the adjacent property owners. So yes, if they were to build a Simplot facility on the scale of, say, Grand Forks, they would absolutely have to go through a full review by all levels of staff at the city.
Okay. Thanks.
Any further questions or any other discussion? Yep.
Chairman, does anyone know, are they going to be mixing chemical there or just storing, unloading and reloading?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Amick. It's my understanding this is a staging type. This is where the trucks are going to get unloaded. And they're going to bring the chemicals into town. You can go there and buy them in bulk. So this would be large farm operations purchasing large volumes of chemicals to use in industrial farming capacity.
And if I may continue, I didn't see, is it within the ETA or within the city of Minot?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Amick, it is in the extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction.
So would that fire department be the city of Minot Fire Department or the rural fire department?
Well, there is a annexation going in with this application that we'll have to go through. They want to hook up to our city water in order to sprinkle the building. I had mentioned there are other conditions through other departments. One of the requirements to store this bulk chemical will be to have the building sprinkled. In order to do that, they have to hook up to city water services, which will require an annexation. That annexation goes directly to city council, but it would be required for this project to go forward. So it would be the city of Minot's fire department that would answer to the calls here by the time this project is brought to completion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Diedrichson, the letter of concern noted problems or potential problems with the watershed. You note that there's another building there with like chemicals in it. Is there anything unique to this property that makes it a topographical threat to the watershed in a way that the rest of that area is not? Or is it all one big problem or lack thereof?
Chairman Offerdahl, Commissioner Kibler, I'm not aware of any problems out there currently. It is on top of a hill, but there are all kinds of federal regulations that this company, being a very large nationwide agrochemical company, they're very well aware of what laws they need to follow as far as spill mitigation and all of those things, as far as not polluting the watershed. They would find themselves in a whole heap of trouble if we find these chemicals in our watershed. But I'm not aware of anything that makes this site any more unique than any other storage site. It's just,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any more discussion? Questions? Okay, we currently have a motion on the table to approve findings and facts by Commissioner Bauman, seconded by Kibler.
Reverse for that.
Oh, did I reverse that? I'm sorry. Motion by Kibler, second by Bauman. With that, we'll call the roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson, Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla,
Yes.
Amick,
Yes.
Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on. We got agenda item number 6, miscellaneous and discussion items. I believe there's a 6.1 that staff would like to talk about briefly.
So, as of right now, you have no applications before you for the 1st of April meeting. So the Planning Commission meeting for the 1st of April is canceled because we have no applications. We have had an applicant approach us about the possibility of a special meeting later in the month. They were looking at Monday the 14th. That would be the Monday between the two city council meetings. They are looking to do a PUD amendment. It's a very large application with a great deal of entitlements already in place that would require you guys to look at it very closely. It is the final phase of Highlands at North Hill, the final piece of that subdivision directly west of the North High School. Filling that in with single-family homes. The original PUD called for twin homes, but the market for twin homes isn't there like it was. So that's kind of a summary of what's going on. We all know that's a very large subdivision. It was one of our zombie subdivisions. We really do want to keep these things moving forward. They have been given a deadline of March 10th to get all of their application materials in and a completed application submitted for us to bring to you for your consideration of the possibility of a mid-April meeting to hear this case and get it moving, since our original April case was canceled. It's entirely, we had spoken to Chairman Offerdahl. He said he was open to it and we could bring it to you as commissioners. The two primary questions are, will they have their completed application submitted by March 10th? If we were to receive that, is there enough planning commissioners to form a quorum who would be willing to show up for a special meeting in the middle of April? So with that, I mean, I can allow you guys to discuss that possibility.
The one question I had, and I think we briefly touched base on this on the phone call, is just as long as the public notice process is going through, I'm not sure if there is anything for that public notice to allow public to attend.
Chairman Offerdahl, that's the reason for the hard deadline of March 10th, is in order for us to do the appropriate public hearing notification and to give us an opportunity to talk to our PIO and make sure that we're sending out to the public so that they're fully aware. Yes, Planning Commission's not meeting on their regular April date, but they are meeting in April. It's outside of your regular schedule, the regular schedule you approved, and that's part of the reason we're bringing it to the commission is you approved your schedule by motion last December. So in order, I can't modify your schedule, only you can. So, but making sure that we can not only just the normal public hearing that people are looking for a planning commission meeting, but making the public aware that there is a special meeting date.
And I think if I understand too, the applicant, this is kind of important to them to get rolling in May, right, or something like that. So we were trying to accommodate their wishes that's why it's brought ahead of you guys.
Chairman Offerdahl, it's an agricultural chemical. They're not up and running by planting season. They've missed half their income for the year type of thing, So their big seasons are the planting and the harvesting season. They're an egg. I mean, there's chemical use throughout the process, but that planting time is very
Are we talking
important
about
to the
the same-
bottom line.
Are we talking about the same
PUD, the
PUD?
Housing?
I'm thinking we've got two applicants that are on top of us to get this going. One's Simplot. They have deadlines too. Sorry, no. No. We're talking about the paving of a road. That they have a contractor. I'm sorry. They had on two here. They have a contractor to finish the road. It's 13th Avenue or Street. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. 13th up there in Highlander. But there, you know, if you can't get the road built in time, then you can't get the construction started in time, and you can't get going. I apologize. With Simplot also has I had mentioned additional deadlines that are impending for them. So.
Well, I think for the sake of discussion, I know that I will not be able to participate physically. I may be able to call in on the 14th, but I would be in full support of a special meeting. So if we can get some more housing starts going, that would be a good thing.
And Mr. Chairman, we also have a second option for that week. We can also hold the meeting on Wednesday, the 16th of April as well.
Okay.
So if we don't have a quorum available for Monday the 14th, we can always push it back 2 days. I know that there's some conflicts for Tuesday the 15th. Plus that's tax day too, so.
Yeah, either day works for me. I guess
The 16th would work for me, but the 14th would not.
does anybody have any pros or cons in this discussion?
Yeah, we're just curious about your availability for that week.
I can tell you I'm not available that week at all.
Okay.
And I may not be available that week.
16th is better on my schedule.
Preferably the 16th.
Yeah, either is fine with me.
Okay.
16th works for me. 14th does too, by the way.
So is that something that we need to make a motion and vote upon, that we're going to transfer this? Do we wait and tentatively plan it for the 16th to see what the 10th brings?
Chairman Offerdahl, I think we'd be looking for a motion to schedule a meeting for, it sounds like the 16th seems to be the one that is most widely of planning commissioners available, to tentatively schedule a special planning commission meeting for Wednesday, April 16th at 5:30 p.m. We got a state time and date and place and all of this in the motion. So a tentative meeting for here at 5:30 on that date, pending the submission of a complete application by March 10th by the applicant.
So moved.
Let's
Is that okay?
Yes.
Hannah, thank you.
We're going to give Bauman that one. So we got a motion by Bauman and we got a second by Kibler. So any discussion, any further discussion? This is the first time, I think this is my, I can't remember how many years I've been here, but this is my third mayor meeting, but this is the first time that we've ever had a special meeting. So it is not normal, you know, so I appreciate you guys as willing to be flexible with something like this. So I'd just add to that, but any further discussion? All right, let's call a roll.
Bauman,
Yes.
Iverson, Kibler,
Yes.
Longton,
Yes.
Menum,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
Pontanilla. Yes. Amick, Doctor,
Yes.
Erickson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, then we got 6.2 here. I believe Vice Chair Bauman has something that he would like to discuss.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Offerdahl. I'll be brief. Dr. Andy Birch at Minot State University is doing some research work with several of his students on some community events and activities, posed around the question of, does downtown Minot need a grocery store? There's a QR code with a link. If you have a place to get some public feedback, or if you want to fill it out yourselves, I grabbed several copies when I saw them today, and I'd be happy to pass those out. So as people who are involved in, you know, the way our city works physically, I thought this was a good place to bring it up, and for the general public watching as well, a chance to input. So thanks.
Thank you.
You hold up that QR code?
I was gonna say, how would the general public know? Get in touch. Yeah, you want to hold it up a little bit.
That might be beyond our skills and capacities, but I'll pass it on to PIO as well.
Okay, last chance for anything miscellaneous or discussion items. Anybody got anything else they would like to add? Okay, seeing none, we will go to adjournment. Thank you.